Yo, so it has been about 4 months, 5 months, give or take, since I last made a video, and I was like, okay, there's been some shit on my mind that I need to make a video on because I know it is affecting everyone, not just me, everyone. And whether you know it or not, I'm pretty sure you know it, but you don't know the raw root cause of it. And it's been going through my mind a lot recently, and I was like, let's just make a video. Let's just come back, make a video, and just talk. So, the problem that I have found that every single person has is the inability to think. And you know how to think. Of course you know how to fucking think, right? Unless you've got that thing where you don't have any ongoing monologue in your head. You know how to fucking think, but you don't allow yourself to do so. And what I mean by that is, as soon as you have a moment to go and think about anything, like anything, you just interrupt it with, let me just grab this shit, start scrolling some bullshit reels. Maybe you like open your phone and like intend to text someone, then you go and like reply and watch King Azule on fucking. You get the point. And this is the problem because everyone knows that they need to change something in their life to actually get an outcome that they want to get. Whether it's, I want to start going to the gym. Whether it's, I want to start doing this. I want to start being more intentional with my time. I want to start actually progressing. I don't want to get to 30 years old and realize that I've wasted all my 20s sitting and procrastinating starting something because I was too addicted to whenever some pain came up, instead of thinking about, okay, this is how I'm going to act on it. This is the best way of me getting to this outcome. Instead of doing that, you're like, nah, let's just fucking scroll TikTok. And you do that every single time. Every single time. So much so that your screen time's like 10 hours a day. Like, I can guarantee if you're watching this video right now, your screen time's probably like, let's say like 6 hours, 4 to like 10, depending on how much of a degenerate you are or how jobless you are, right? And this is the problem, because how are you ever going to get what you want to get if you can't actually think how you're going to get that thing? Because everyone seems to just avoid this ongoing discomfort, like, whenever. And that's why everyone's just progressing, regressing. No one's doing anything, and they might want to do stuff. You're like, you watch these videos, these reels, and you're like, me and bro in 2030 when we're rich. And you'll like it, and maybe you'll send it to bro, but like, that's it. There's nothing more that comes from that, because you don't get results from like sitting there watching reels. You don't get results by sitting there getting motivated for 5 minutes, maybe looking up a YouTube video on how to make money in 2026, and then maybe sending it to your friend and like, yo bro, we need to lock in this year. Yeah bro, we need to lock in this year. Like, how many times have you said that to yourself and nothing happened? And then how many times have you gone to yourself before you go to bed? And I know this from experience, so I can speak very... And I don't want to say I've fixed it. I definitely haven't fixed it, but like, I don't think anyone's inherently fixed it, but you can be as intentional with your time as you physically can. These things are fucking like addicting. They are made to be addicting, of course. But how many times have you gone to bed and you're like, yo, yeah, when I wake up, I'm going to be locked. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. You wake up, your alarm goes off. You either snooze it, you go back to sleep, or you wake up, you like sheepishly go on your phone, open it, Instagram. You know what they say, the tall guys have King Azule reels. But just fucking like, how is anything ever going to change? Nothing's ever going to fucking change. Ever. And that's the problem. So, the reason I'm making this video is I could have just done a yap sesh on this exact topic. But then I came across a tweet the other day with 600 likes. So you know it's not a big tweet. It's a very niche tweet. And it articulates this perfectly. So I'm going to read it. And it's going to explain anything better than myself. Completely better than myself. And then we can go over it. But I'm going to do it as like a... Rather than sending a link and you'd fucking read it. Because you're not going to fucking read it because you're already brain rotted. So you need to have someone read it to you. So, I'm going to read this real quick. Shit. Okay. The phone is the only. Oh no, actually, sorry. Let me do the title is "You're Not Lazy. You're Becoming Easy to Interrupt." The phone is only the obvious part. The real damage is what it normalizes. Leaving the moment, resistance appears. Most men don't notice it happening. Most men don't lose focus at all. No, sorry. I fucked it up. Most men don't lose focus all at once. They become easier to pull away. A notification appears and they check it. A thought interrupts them and they follow it. A hard sentence won't come, so they open another tab. The work gets slow, so they reach for something faster. Silence appears, and before they can feel it, they feel it. None of this feels like failure in the moment. That's why it trains so well. Every small exit teaches the same lesson. When resistance appears, leave. And after enough repetitions, the man starts calling himself lazy because laziness sounds simpler than what actually happened. He didn't just lose discipline, he practiced leaving. Let me put this on my fucking main monitor real quick. One second. So that. Interruption becomes obedience. The problem isn't that distractions exist. Distractions have always existed. The problem is that modern life gives a man 1,000 tiny chances a day to obey the first thing that pulls on him. And most of those chances look harmless enough to ignore. Check that message, open the app, follow the thought, answer the urge, switch the tab, refresh the feed, search one thing, adjust the playlist, grab the snack, touch the phone for no real reason. Each one feels small, but the mind is watching. It learns what gets rewarded. It learns what gets obeyed. It learns whether attention is something that a man commands or something the world can keep taking from him. That's the most part most men underestimate. They think the danger is the 5 minutes they lost. It's not. The danger is the permission they just reinforced. A man sits down to work and the first few minutes feel flat. Nothing is moving yet, no momentum, no reward, no clean feeling of progress, just the ordinary discomfort of entering something that matters. Then something interrupts him and he goes with it. Not because he made some grand decision to quit, not because he's weak in some dramatic way, but because he's trained himself to treat every interruption like it deserves an answer. That's how attention gets broken, not by one massive failure, but by repeatedly leaving the work for whatever interrupts it. The threshold gets lower. At first, the work has to be genuinely difficult before a man leaves. Then it only has to be boring. Then it only has to be slow. Then it only has to be unclear. Then it only has to stop rewarding him for a few seconds. And that is how the threshold drops. A man who keeps leaving the moment, pressure appears. Oh fuck. The man who keeps leaving the moment, pressure appears, will eventually feel pressured by almost nothing. A page without instant clarity starts feeling heavy. A workout without an immediate pump starts feeling pointless. A conversation without easy comfort starts feeling like something to avoid. A quiet evening with himself starts feeling like a problem to solve. His tolerance gets smaller, but he rarely sees it that way. He just thinks everything got harder. The work feels harder, reading feels harder, training feels harder, thinking feels harder, prayer feels harder, staying present in a conversation feels harder, doing one thing without checking something else feels harder. But the work may not have changed. He may have changed. He's trained his system to expect an exit the moment effort stops feeling clean. So when the exit doesn't come, the moment starts feeling wrong. That's why ordinary effort begins to feel extreme. Not because it is extreme, but because his mind has been conditioned to leave too early. It starts leaking into everything serious. This doesn't stay inside the phone. That's the real problem. The same pattern follows a man back into the work, the gym, the book, the conversation, the business, the relationship, the quiet room, the long-term goal. He starts losing the ability to stay inside anything long enough for it to deepen. He can start things. Starting still gives him a hit, a new plan, a new note, a new idea, a new routine, a new promise to himself. The beginning feels alive because nothing has asked much from him yet, but the middle exposes him. The middle is slower, less flattening, less stimulating, less emotionally rewarding. The middle is where the work becomes plain enough that a man has to decide whether he's serious about being entertained by his own seriousness. That's where the interrupted man starts disappearing. He leaves the article when it asks him to think. He leaves the task when it asks him to struggle. He leaves the workout when it asks him to repeat. He leaves the conversation when it asks him to be honest. He leaves the silence when it starts showing him what he's been avoiding. Then he wonders why nothing compounds. But what compounds in a man who keeps getting removed from the process? Skill requires staying. Strength requires staying. Trust requires staying. Focus requires staying. Depth requires staying. A serious life requires a man to remain inside things after his first clean feeling is gone. If he can't do that, he'll keep living off beginnings, and beginnings aren't enough to build a life. Lazy is the easier diagnosis. A lot of men call themselves lazy because it gives them a simple enemy. Who the fuck is calling me? I'm mid fucking talking. Why are you calling me? Sorry. Interrupt. Back in the game. Lazy means, let me try that again. Lazy is the easier diagnosis. A lot of men call themselves lazy because it gives them a simple enemy. Lazy means they need to try harder. Lazy means the answer is more intensity, more discipline, more pressure, more anger at themselves, more promises made in a dramatic mood. But if the real problem is trained interruptibility, trying harder will only help for a while, because effort isn't the only issue. The issue is that the man has become too available to interruption. He's available to the phone, available to the mood, available to the craving, available to the thought, available to the tab, available to the random impulse that says, leave this for a second. And for a second is usually the lie. A second becomes a loop becomes a state becomes a day. Enough days become the kind of life where he's always almost focused, almost consistent, almost building, almost becoming who he said he would become. That kind of life is humiliating because he can still see the man he could be. He's not stupid, he's not empty, he's not without ambition. He just can't stay lazy with the thing long enough to turn ambition into evidence. That's a different problem, and it requires a different kind of correction. A serious life requires staying power. The answer isn't to become unreachable, emotionless, or perfectly focused every minute of the day. That's fantasy. The answer is to rebuild staying power. Staying power is the ability to remain when the moment stops entertaining you, to keep your attention on the page when the sentence is difficult, to keep your hands on the work when it becomes awkward, to stay in the sets when the body starts bargaining, to stay in the conversation when honesty would be easier to avoid, to stay in silence without immediately reaching for noise. This isn't glamorous, and that's why it matters. Most men want the identity of a focused man without the ordinary moments that create one. They want the clean outcome without the ugly seconds where focus is actually built. But focus isn't built when everything is easy to stay with. It's built in the exact moment leaving starts to feel attractive. That is the rep. The moment your hands want the phone, the moment your mind wants another tab, the moment the work feels slow, the moment you start telling yourself you need a quick break, even though some part of you knows you are about to disappear. That moment isn't small. That's where the man is being trained. Either trained to leave again or trained to remain. I will give credit to the guy who has written this. Actually, I'm going to do it mid just in case. Max Torchbearer on Twitter. Fucking baller with this blog. Anyway, back to it. Train the return. You don't fix this you don't fix this by pretending interruptions will never happen. They will. The mind will wander. The phone will pull. The craving will appear. The work will get slow. The mood will leave. Some part of you will look for an exit the moment the task stops rewarding you. The win is never not being interrupted. The win is not obeying every interruption. Start there. Notice the exact moment you begin to leave. Not 10 minutes later when you were already somewhere else. Not after the whole right is gone. Oh, fuck. Wait, let me try again. Notice the exact moment you begin to leave. Not 10 minutes later when you were already somewhere else. Not after the whole night is gone. The moment. The hand moving to the phone. The tab opening. The thought promising it will only take a second. The sudden urge to fix something irrelevant. The small internal shift where you stop being inside the work and start looking for a way out. That is the point of leverage. Return there. Not dramatically, not with a speech about becoming better, just return. Back to the sentence, back to the set, back to the page, back to the problem, back to the conversation, back to the silence, and back to the one thing you were about to abandon. At first, it will feel uncomfortable because your system expects the exit. Good. That means you have found the training. Let the interruption ask. Let the urge pull. Let the resistance rise. Then don't leave so quickly. That's how attention becomes yours again. Not all at once. Not through one heroic day, but through the repeated refusal to be removed from what matters. What you stay inside becomes your life. A man's future is not only built by what he starts, it's built by what he can stay inside after the first urge to leave appears. That's the part that most men keep missing. They keep looking for the perfect plan, the perfect environment, the perfect state of mind, the perfect surge of discipline, but a large part of their life is being decided in smaller moments than that. Can he stay when the work gets boring? Can he stay when the answer doesn't come quickly? Can he stay when the room gets quiet? Can he stay when nothing in him feels sharp? Can he stay when another part of him wants to escape into something faster, easier, louder, or lighter? That's where the split happens. One man leaves every time the moment asks for more from him. Another stays long enough to become dangerous. Not because he never gets interrupted, but because the interruption no longer owns him. That is the difference. You're not lazy just because focus feels hard, but you may have trained yourself to leave so often that staying now feels unnatural. And if that's true, the next step is not another identity crisis. It's much simpler. Stop making every interruption a command. Stop leaving the moment resistance appears, and stay long enough that the weaker pattern stops moving you first. Damn, I was just talking for about 13 minutes straight. Or something along those lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're watching this video and you don't somewhat relate to everything that has been stated in the last 10 minutes of me yapping into the mic, you're either fucking perfect or you're just doing fuck all. Because this literally portrays everything that I've said in like all of my fucking videos into not like just a main topic that I would always talk about is this. The fact that whenever any discomfort arises, you just leave it. You leave it to watch a YouTube video. You leave it to fucking look at your phone. You leave it to go on Instagram. You leave it to do whatever. Just anything but the work. And then you wonder why you've done nothing in the last 12 months. When you get to the end of the year, going into 2027, 2026, whatever year, you get to the end of the year and you're like, I said I would do so much shit this year. I said I would start this, I would do this, I would do that, right? But you end up doing nothing. And it's not because you didn't know what to do. Well, kind of. But more so down to the fact that whenever you did need to do something, you would avoid it for whatever reason. A way that I like to put it is a lot of people everyone has such easy access to vast amounts of dopamine that why would you delay that dopamine for exactly the same feeling for something that takes a lot more effort to get it? And that's the treadmill that most people are in. It's like I wrote a blog on it like when I was like fucking 19. I called it like something to do with the treadmill of hedonism, where no one can ever focus or do anything because there's something more shiny always staring at them. They want to start a business, but they can't send the outreach messages because they'd much rather scroll Instagram. Or they don't want to think about what email to send in the cold DMs or the cold emails that they're sending because it's a hard thing to think of, and maybe you're perfecting it so you don't know what to write, and by doing that you end up doing nothing, and you then scroll your phone, and then you go to bed that night and you've done nothing again after the night before telling yourself, yeah, I'm going to do all this. That's the problem that everyone seems to have. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I don't think anyone you watch across the internet is perfect. It's more so in how aware you are of these things and then how best you can mitigate them. Because again, like, no one is perfect. So if you really wanted to make a change with some kind of business that you want to start, or some change you want to make, even if it's, I want to start doing some habit, like I want to start reading a book, for example. Like, you know full well that you have more than enough time to sit there and read books for 20 pages a day. But you don't, because this thing is always staring you in the face 24/7. And it's so frictionless to just pick it up and then just scroll some bullshit. So why would you ever go grab a book and just read it? Like, it takes effort to go and do it. So you need to build a habit into yourself to go and do it. And I think, with that being said, if that is the problem and you can't bring yourself to read a book, or maybe you do read a book and you get bored of it, the same thing then comes back to what I've just read, which is basically saying, if something is tough and you want to stop reading, what is the alternative? Because if you're going to stop reading when you intended to read, you know anything but reading is not what your natural body is telling you to do. And you know you should be reading in the 30 minutes from 5:30 to 6 o'clock. So what else should you be stopping reading to go and do? Nothing. So why stop? And the reason for that is you're just avoiding the discomfort of, maybe it's lower dopamine, maybe it's you're easily distracted, maybe you want to go and check Instagram, maybe you've got this like urge or like tingle of like, fuck, I might have a message from this person, I might have a message from this person, oh shit, maybe this, and then you just can't stay present in the moment. So what you need to do is take a step back, go and experience these problems firsthand and not avoid them, and then just do it enough, because you're not going to fix yourself in 24 hours, as much as I would like to tell you that. It's going to take work, and you're going to have to stay disciplined. And like, I can make this video right now, it could get 1 million views, and only 1,000 people will actually probably get something from it. You know, like, is that going to be you watching this right now? Like, of the views that I've got, how many people have actually got to 22 minutes and 33 seconds? No one. Like, I can imagine it's fucking, out of 100 views, it's probably like 10 absolute maximum. See, this is the competition, right? And everyone says they want a certain thing, but they've always got an excuse, or they don't want to try, or all these different things. And you've got to realize that, like, law of averages is always going to state that, yes, all these 100 out of 100 people might say they want this thing, but only 1 out of those 100 people are actually going to get it, solely due to the fact of just, I don't want to call it natural selection, but it's going to go from 100 down to 10, because only 10 people actually stay consistent with it for more than 24 hours. And then only 1 of those 10 people actually stay consistent with it for a week. Like, a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily coming from an egotistical standpoint. It's just fact. You either do it or you don't. That's really what it comes down to. And most people don't. So I don't want to say this from an egotistical standpoint. That's not what I'm trying to come at this from. But when you look at where all of the quote unquote problems are in your life, like, I'm sure you would much rather, I mean, people would disagree, but I'm sure you would much rather be spending every waking hour of your day doing something that you would intentionally want to be doing, rather than scrolling reels for 2 hours and then realizing it's now 6 o'clock after starting at 4, and you've just lost 2 hours of your day, and you can't remember one reel that you watched in the last 2 hours, unless someone replies to it on your fucking DMs, and then you're like, oh yeah, that was a funny reel. Like, that's yeah, if you want to spend your time doing that, that's fine, but it's never just 2 hours. It's the accumulation of 20 minutes plus 40 minutes plus 30 minutes plus 10 minutes plus 30 minutes, and it just adds up. So if I'm giving a plan of action, and I'm not perfect, I'm fucking 23. I'm 23. I can't sit here and be like, yeah, do this. But what I will say is, if you do want to go and change the way in which that you are working, you first of all need to find work that you want to be doing, or at least find a goal that you want to hit, and then work backwards from it. And then once you have that clarity, you then go and execute on whatever that thing is, by the hour, by the day and know, okay, I need to do this task, this task, this task, this task. And your mental energy throughout the day is going to just slowly deplete from the moment you wake up until you go to bed. So you've got to sit there and know that you're going to have to get it done at some point in the day. And then all you've got to do then is go and first start it. And you're going to get these urges to check your phone, open a new tab, all these fucking whatever I've just said in the last 30 minutes. All of these things are going to come up for you to go and like do. Maybe you want to go downstairs and get a drink. Maybe you want to do this. Maybe you want to do that. But what really helps you get to where you want to get to is, first of all, you've got to know what you're working on. But second of all, you've then got to reward the small moments of you doing those tasks. So one thing that I've seen a lot of people do in just books that I've read or podcasts that I've listened to, or just even admittedly Instagram reels, is people will they'll, rather than having a task of build website, right? You would cut the website down to do the header. So literally just the text or the offer on the header, to the nav bar, to section 1, to the product page, or the top, or the main part of the product page. So the bit that you click on first with the images, and you would split it up one by one so that stuff's easier to go and do, and you have that dopamine hit of ticking it off. And the same thing goes for literally waking up and making a coffee. If you want to go, I tried this for a bit. It actually kind of worked. Admittedly, I didn't stay consistent with it, and I should have done. But even waking up and having it on a to-do list where you tick off that you've made your coffee, or you've just all these little ticks, so that you get yourself into this rhythm and momentum of ticking off stuff. Otherwise, you're going to sit there, stagnate, use your phone, get distracted, then something else is going to come up, and then next thing you know, it's 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, and you're going to bed, and it's the next day. And that's how most people lose their days. So if you can just mitigate that, can't fucking lose. Simply put. So I've kind of gone off topic from the initial point, but the point still stands. If there's anything that you know you need to do, think. If you have no clarity on your life and you'll keep avoiding things, which is very much seems to be ingrained in society now, where it's oh yeah, it's okay, it's just It's no. If you want to improve yourself, if you actually want to make a difference in your life, you've got to actually go and sit and think. And no one ever thinks. No one ever has clarity on a lot of things. It's just living I said it in all my videos, living like a feather in the wind, where you're just sat there being blown around, and whatever happens, and maybe you have a conversation once, or maybe you get on a call sometime, but you didn't really orchestrate that call to happen. You just found yourself on a call. You're just kind of going with the flow, and maybe you'll do a bit of work here, maybe you'll do a bit of work there. That's how you're going to find yourself in a call. All these different things. But if you actually take a step back and realize, okay, this is the core problem, which is more than often the phone. The phone is the problem. Back away from the phone. Phone is fine, but understand what you want to use your phone for. What are you actually working towards? Because no one ever has the space to think. And this is the problem. You need to allow yourself the space to think. Otherwise, you are just going to live there's got to be a good analogy for this. I'm going to come up with an analogy. It's going to sound retarded. I'm going to say, imagine you're just you're a bull in a ring in the Colosseum in Spain, or whatever it's called. It's not Colosseum. Maybe it is a Colosseum. Let's just say Colosseum in Spain. There's got to be a Spanish word for this. But you're a bull. But instead of being a bull who's intently going for the fucking red, instead of going for the red thing, you're just a bull who's in there, and yeah, you might hit the red thing, but you've got a fucking blindfold on. So how are you gonna hit the red? You might hit it at some point, but the odds of you hitting it are pretty slim. And even if you do hit it, it's not going to be intentional. And then once you hit that first step, you're not going to be able to hit the next, because you still got a blindfold on. You're just you're just doing you're not even doing stuff. You're not thinking. Most people don't even step. Most people, if they are the bull, they don't even step into the fucking Colosseum in the first place. You're just sat there at the sidelines, oh wait, maybe the logo could be a bit different. Let me just check the logo. or let me just check the catchphrase real quick. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what actually is going to get you results? You sit back and think about that, then you go and do it. I could talk about this shit all day. 80-20 principle. 80-20 principle, where you have 20% of things get 80% of the results. The logo is not one of those 20% of things. If you're starting an agency, it is the funnel once you send an email. Like, what is behind the email? You have the actual email. You have the email list. You don't have the name of the fucking business. You don't have what the logo looks like. You have the intention behind what the pain is that you're trying to solve, the intention of how you're then going to go and solve that pain, and then how you're going to give yourself enough credibility to sell the person that you are the person who is actually going to solve that pain. That's really it. Then you just work around those three things. There's more to it, but that's surface level. Simple. But if you never actually take the time to think about it, how are you ever going to make a change? You know? And I think that's the biggest problem is in society now. Most people are just like, it's almost accepted that everyone's a phone addict, and if they're thinking like a certain way, or maybe they're just like not feeling good, so like, I'd have to work today, it's almost like promoted to be like, yeah, just do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes the next day, and then the next day becomes next year, and then they become 30 and they've got kids, and then you're 30 and you can't take any fucking risks because you're 30 and you've got kids. Like, now is the time to take risks, but too many people are scared to take risks. Fuck me, I sound like the Bugatti guy. I sound like the Bugatti guy right now, but it's true. It's true. I'm going off topic, but long story short, allow yourself time to think properly. Don't avoid it, and face your discomfort head on. Like, almost you're fighting, it's you versus you. Like, it's I've seen so many different posts, tweets, whatever, about it's not really you versus whoever it is that you're against. Like, of course it is to a certain degree, but more than anything, it's you versus you. Like, how can you hold yourself to get X result, to do X thing? How can you hold yourself accountable to do things? You know, like, the last thing I'll say, and I've said this in a lot of videos, is if you have a boss who is your boss, obviously you're scared of losing your job, and your boss says that you need to get your project in by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, or whatever it is that he needs doing on 5 p.m. on Wednesday, you're going to get that fucking product. You're going to get that done by 5 p.m. on Wednesday. But if you say to yourself, I'm going to get this done by 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and you don't have the discipline to yourself, and you don't trust yourself, not only are you not going to get it done by Wednesday because there's no harsh consequences, but you're then ingraining you're ingraining that culture within yourself to allow yourself to slack like that. And that's the problem I think a lot of people have, because entrepreneurship, or whatever it is that you want to start doing, no one's ever going to come and help you. No one's giving you handouts. You have to go and do it yourself. Like, you have to go and work it out yourself. You've got to go and work out answers yourself. You can't go and ask, oh yeah, I've got this problem, can you give me this answer? And I've got this problem, I need to ask you, like what should I do here? And then you wait for the answer. You don't do anything in the meantime. You need to just be on it yourself. Like, if there's a problem you need the answer to, you go work out yourself. You can't go like relying on other people to give you the answer and then procrastinate working until you have that answer. That's another hole people get into. Like, fuck me, I've been talking for 34 minutes. There's no way people are still listening to this shit. But it's true. So make the change. Allow yourself to think. Allow yourself to face discomfort head on. I had this it's gonna sound pretty gay, but I had this bracelet that I wore from, I think I got it in like 2019, something along those lines, which was from the brand Yes Theory, and it was basically, it was called like the bracelet was like the seat discomfort bracelet. Like it meant seat discomfort. Like that is their whole brand. It's like seat discomfort, right? And I put it on my wrist, and I would always just think, it would be like a reminder. I would be like discomfort is a good thing. If I'm not having any discomfort, I'm just stagnant. I'm not moving. I'm moving backwards. I need to move forwards. I need to achieve X. I need to do this. I need to do that. So I had that on my wrist, and I would always be like fuck, let me just tell that. And then I'd be like, no. And then I'd face it, and like, obviously you're gonna relapse like sometimes, but in the grand scheme of things, you need to just hold yourself accountable and just know as well. This is the last thing I would say. Most people, as much as they might put their best foot forward online, myself included, is never perfect. No one is ever perfect. People always found themselves doing things that they wish that they would never do. Right? That is the case. We're all human. So don't be hard on yourself when you do fuck up, because it's only natural to do so. Everyone does it. Instead, understand, okay, why did I do that? And am I going to do it again? No. And what, like, maybe why am I not going to do it again? Like, ask yourself these questions. Like, don't avoid, again, thinking about what you've just done and the fact that you've maybe just gone and opened Instagram Reels because you couldn't finish a sentence in an essay. Instead, be like, okay, so I did fuck up, but I knew this was going to happen because I'm only just starting this, and I've only just really peeled back the skin to realize that this was actually the problem in the first place. So rather than shooting myself in the foot because I fucked up already, know that it's not going to be a seamless task. It's not just going to be this and it's fixed. You're just going to keep going at it, and then it's going to fix itself. Easy. Like, so with that being said, don't need to add any more, otherwise people are going to fall asleep. Been a while. It's been about 5 months, as I was saying, so it's good to be back. But so I do a video. Sorry for the crazy fit. I went to this like hospitality lunch thing today, and I'm just haven't changed. So I swear I didn't put this thing on for the video. I wasn't trying to look all intellectual, but yeah. Anyway, right. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe. I want to hit 2k subscribers again. Cheers. I was at 2k and then I didn't upload for a year, and then everyone either unsubscribed and their account got deleted or whatever. So just I need this for this channel. Alright. Okay. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. And yeah, peace.